You've heard it said 1,000 times that knowledge is power. And while education is sometimes taken for granted in America, it's a precious commodity around the globe, in places like Somaliland, a breakaway country from Somalia. Jonathan Starr, author of the book It Takes a School, describes the region as the world's #1 failed state. And giving that state the knowledge and power it so desperately needs was a mantle Starr took on himself.
I'm an American who worked in finance. I actually started and ran my own private investment firm. And when I was 32, I closed that down and moved to Somaliland, which is a breakaway country that's unrecognized as independent, but operates independently within Somalia, and started this school that my plan would really develop the future leaders of that country, of Somaliland, who would then provide opportunities to the wider population.
Though his decision to shutter the investment firm he had opened himself was a shock to many, it wasn't rash. Somaliland may not be well known to most Americans, but Starr has known about it for the majority of his life.
My father's sister married a Somali well before I was born, and they had my cousins. And when my parents got divorced, my mom and her in-laws, they didn't get divorced. They still stayed close. So we used to spend lots of holidays with my Somali cousins and my Somali uncle. And I would hear about his home country, and he's been talking about Somaliland, which broke away from Somalia in 1991. I've been hearing about it for a long time, and how this is a place that's just held back because it's considered part of Somalia. So that was my connection, and when I wanted to do something very different and try my hand at something that I thought would both allow me to grow as a person but also be a real contribution to the world, the first place I looked was to my uncle. When can we go see your country? When can we go look and find some opportunity there?
And once Starr visited Somaliland, he says it became very clear to him that it was the right place for him to make a difference.
Somaliland broke away from Somalia in 91, and it came to peace. The people there said, let's put the guns down. Let's be peaceful. Well, the rest of the country of Somalia was unable to, and still to this day is unfortunately struggles with constant violence. Somaliland is a peaceful place where the people, especially when you're in the capital of Somaliland, which is Hargeisa, the people are incredibly patriotic to Somaliland. At the same time, the roads are really not paved, and there's trash everywhere. The education system is basically a little bit above broken. So it's not really super functioning, but you have a people there who want it to be functioning and who are at peace with each other. So that seemed to me like a real opportunity to try to create something in a place that would be safer and stabler, but still needing.
So, in an effort to fill one need he found particularly important, Starr built a school. Soon enough, he was welcoming his first class of students into the doors of the Abarso school.
We have this first group of ninth graders, and I realized from very early on that my main job is to show them that it is worth it to invest in their education. And they came to basically be like a family who cared about each other, who pushed each other. And when the students started to see success, like they realized, wow, I'm really doing well. I'm learning so much more here than I had learned anywhere before. They started to really start valuing their education and valuing the school.
Though he says the students bought into the school and its goals relatively quickly, he and his staff still ran into trouble with many of the locals.
We came up against a lot of real challenges in society where people started attacking us. You're corrupting the youth, you're corrupting the religion. It's all nonsense. People had ulterior motives, and they were just using these things that they thought could rile up a society who wasn't used to foreigners. You kind of attack the foreigners as being foreigners, as opposed to on merit. And when that happened, it just actually pushed the students and the faculty and me even closer together. We were now kind of war buddies. We were fighting for the survival of this school. And I would have students actually come to me and say, no one should have to put up with what you're putting up with. Please go home, just because I just can't watch my people doing this to you. And, they loved us. They really cared about us. But we didn't go home. and we fought through with them.
One of those many students at the school that Starr feels a close connection to is a boy named Mubarak.
The story of Mubarak, who is this boy who grew up a nomad, following goats around. And he thought a car was an animal as a child. He'd never seen any technology before, so how would he know that a car is actually something humans could have built? He was our first to go away for school. He did great, opened the doors for others. Mubarak then got into MIT. He took his first computer science class there, and he told me, it says intro, but it doesn't feel like an intro course to me. And, I don't blame him. I'm assuming, the kid next to him was a hacker, and a different kid sold an app to Google. This is MIT, and Mubarak just kind of knew how to turn a computer on. He's graduating this year with a degree in electrical engineering and computer science. He actually has worked on autonomous vehicles. From not knowing a car wasn't an animal to working on autonomous vehicles, it's pretty incredible. And now you're talking about a kid who's obviously just has an enormous talent level. And the future with an investment in that kid, there's just no ceiling, right? He could be an incredible change maker in his society. Mubarak's really just one, but he is certainly an exceptional one.
With students from largely uneducated and in many cases impoverished backgrounds, Starr says the staff at Abarso had their work cut out for them at every turn.
Take every reason that anyone says are an excuse for why an American school fails, and we had it, except we had more. We have one family where the father has 29 children. I challenge to find too many American schools with bigger families than that. So we have these enormous families, these uneducated parents, and yet we succeeded. And why? Because we inspired the kids that day after day, it's worth it to invest in your education. It's worth it to wake up in the morning and focus in each of your classes and do your work and not take shortcuts and don't cheat, and then do community service to help others. And then when you play sports, do your best and to learn more. And we inspired them that it's worth it.
In all, Starr says the success his students like Mubarak have had in the 9 years since Abarso opened its doors has been astounding.
Right now, we have over 50 kids in the U.S., over 80 around the world who are studying. We've only gotten better as a school. So the pipeline of students who could end up being at Ivy League universities and going to great schools and then going back and fixing their country is tremendous.
But Starr says he worries that travel bans, such as those being proposed and signed by President Trump, could do accidental damage to that pipeline.
How the administration has tried to do this executive order will put an end to what would be an education revolution in the breakaway part of the world's number one failed state. And that just cannot have been the intention when they put this in place. So I'm hopeful that listeners can see that these kids are good for security in America and good for America, and that they'll support them and convince the administration that we need schools like this and we need kids like Mubarak. I would like to think that when the administration put forward this Somalia visa ban, they don't even know our school exists. They don't realize we're not talking about blocking terrorists here. We're talking about blocking a kid who got into Harvard from attending. A kid who could be the future president and an ethical president of their country. That's not good for American security. It's good for American security to have these kids come to America, get the education we can provide, and go back and create opportunities for the others in their country.
Despite his concerns and the blowback he's received along his journey, Starr says he has no regrets about his decision to trade in life as a hedge fund manager for the role of schoolmaster in Somaliland.
I have been able to gain satisfaction and a whole other family who I love and who loves me that I never could have had. I spent year after year where every day I'd wake up knowing, and I still feel this way, every day I wake up knowing, all right, I have things to do that I really care about because I'm going to make people I care about have a better life, have a better future, have more opportunities. That is a very special way to be able to live, to really feel like every day you can actually do something special and contribute. And there are not many jobs that feel that way. So I kind of look at it and I see people who are in the finance world or in other parts of the world, and I think to myself, why do you want to get up every day and do that? From my perspective, I've had the best job. It hasn't been easy, and I've put up with some really rough things, but it's been wonderful.
To learn more about Jonathan Starr or the Abarso School, you can find his book, It Takes a School, in stores or online now. For more information about all of our guests, visit viewpointsonline.net. Our show is written and produced by Evan Rook. Our executive producer is Reed Pence. Our production director is Sean Waldron. I'm Marty Peterson.
The cost and impact of Alzheimer's disease are growing. The Alzheimer's Association 2017 Alzheimer's Disease Facts and Figures Report finds that total annual payments for health care, long-term care, and hospice care for people with Alzheimer's and other dementias now exceeds $250 billion. And that doesn't include the human impact on more than 5 million Americans living with the disease and another 15 million serving as unpaid caregivers, according to Ruth Drew, Director of Family and Information Services for the Alzheimer's Association.
The physical and emotional strain many people experience when caring for someone with Alzheimer's is significant. More than 1 out of 3 caregivers say their health has gotten worse, compared to only 1 out of 5 caring for older people without dementia. Depression and anxiety are also much more common for those caring for someone with dementia.
Every 66 seconds, someone in the U.S. develops Alzheimer's. It's the 6th leading cause of death in America. Find out more about the 2017 Facts and Figures report at alz.org.